Joe Charles of the former NLC President, Senator PUC President, Comrade Engineer Sifo is the key of the event. Venue, the Labour House Temboga, Ipoba Hill. Date, Monday, April 29th, 2024. Time, 10 a.m. prompt.
From Lagos, the nation's
Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Bola Tinubu makes a strong showing at the World Economic Forum in Riyadh, tells the global body that the removal of fuel subsidy in Nigeria is to prevent the country from going bankrupt. Nigeria is on the path of economic recovery, says Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawale, reveals that daily oil production now stands at 1.4 million barrels per day, and this he attributes to the fight against oil theft. People's Democratic Party sweeps Oyo local government elections, wins all 33 chairmanship seats in a contest described by the governor as satisfactory. Human rights groups gave damning reports against Burkinabe army. Alleged soldiers killed 223 villagers, 2 communities, in a allegation strongly denied by the military. Where the special meeting on global collaboration, growth and energy for development is ongoing at the World Economic Forum, with President Bola Tinubu in attendance alongside President Paul Kagame of Rwanda and other world leaders. During the panelist session, President Tinubu says the removal of fuel subsidy may have created some discomfort to Nigerians, but the move is to prevent the country from going bankrupt, and he's assuring there is light at the end of the tunnel. President Bola Tinubu also adds that his vision is to reset the country's economy and create a new pathway for growth. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, who is in Riyadh, now reports.
Thank you. Amidst deepening geopolitical tensions, tight financial conditions, and mounting debt pressures, world leaders in government, business, and the academia gather in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for a special meeting of the World Economic Forum. The focus is on global collaboration, growth, and energy for development.
As the chairman of the ECOWAS.
Speaking during the opening plenary, which focused on a new vision for global development, President Bola Tinubu outlined the steps his administration has taken to reform and reset the Nigerian economy for growth.
Concerning the question of the subsidy removal, there's no doubt that it was a necessary action for my country not to go bankrupt. One, to reset the economy and the pathway to growth. It is going to be difficult, but the hallmark of leadership is taking difficult decisions at the time it ought to be taken decisively. That was necessary for the country. Yes, there will be blowback. There is expectation that the difficulty in it will be felt by a greater number of the people. But once, I believe it was their interest that is the focus of the government. It is easier to manage and explain the difficulties Along the line, there is a parallel arrangement to really cushion the effect of the subsidy removal on the vulnerable population of the country.
He also drew the attention of the world on the need to ensure peace, stability, and economic growth is entrenched in the Sahel region.
I've witnessed the big influence of Nigeria to discourage unconstitutional change of government. Equally, we have eased the sanctions. We need to trade with one another, not fight each other. It is very, very necessary and compulsory.
Other members of the panel added their views on steps that must be taken to reignite development and economic cooperation across the world.
If you look at it from the perspective of the global shocks that we talk about here and there, irrespective of where they have come from, all countries in the world are affected. Of course, some affected more than others, but that's fine. But that is a reminder that we need to therefore look at what has been talked about, the inclusiveness that we are talking about, and collaboration that brings different entities of the world together. We must be able to call out hypocrisy for whenever we see it, and it is there because we keep talking about north-south divide or other divides, but we don't find easily and quickly the solution to that.
Trade and financial flows are the transmission lines of prosperity, and it would be a huge mistake to lose them. So focus on that. Reforms pay off very, very well. So if we can have that leadership strength within countries to do the right thing and across countries to work together, the optimists in the room would say we are right. Optimism is well grounded.
The conclusion at the panel discussion is that the issue of inclusivity must be central to a new vision of global development. And that vision, they say, must involve urgent and concrete action. From Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, Lanre Lasisi for Channels Television News.
And President Bola Tinubu held several meetings on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum special meeting. During that meeting with the chairman of AP Maersk, Mr. Robert Maersk Ogler, the president secured an investment of $600 million from the Danish shipping and logistics company to expand existing port infrastructure to accommodate more container shipping services in the Nigerian ports. President Tinubu noted that this investment will complement the administration's ongoing $1 billion investment in seaport reconstruction across the eastern and the western seaports of Nigeria. President Tinubu also met with the President and Chief Executive Officer of Samsung, Hong Nam-kung, and the Chairman of Samsung Investment Global, Jung-wook Kim. The President assured them that Nigeria's investment and environment operates on the principle of a willing buyer and willing seller, which ensures seamless access to capital for investors both within and outside the country. The Samsung chairman expressed Samsung's interest in expanding its presence in Nigeria, citing the success of sister companies already operating in the country while laying out potential for new opportunities in Nigeria. In a separate meeting with Microsoft founder and philanthropist Mr. Bill Gates, President Tinubu said technology is a potent weapon against corruption and financial impropriety in public service. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima is leaving Abuja today for Nairobi, Kenya, where he will be representing the president at the crucial International Development Association Heads of State Summit, which will be taking place tomorrow. The high-level gathering hosted by Kenyan President William Ruto will see African leaders unite to call for an ambitious replenishment of the World Bank's International Development Association and the lending arm. The Vice President will be taking a lead role in advocating Nigeria's vision of the transformative IDA 21 financing package to accelerate development across the continent over the 2024-2026 period. He's expected to emphasize that partners like IDA will be critical to realizing Nigeria's economic transformation agenda, with the country's young population requiring substantial investments in sectors like job creation, energy access, and human capital development. The federal government says that Nigeria's crude oil production for the first quarter of 2024 has increased to 1.4 million barrels per day. That's a major increase from last year, making this known during the passing out parade of the Nigerian Navy Basic Training School, One, in Rivers State. The Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale.
Friends, families, top brass from the different arms of the military and government officials are at the Nigerian Navy Basic Training School, One, in Rivers State, for the passing out parade of the trainees. In total, 1,486 members of the batch 36 trainees are passing out. In his address, the Minister of State for Defense, who is the special guest of honor, praises the Navy for their role in improving the crude oil production of the nation.
Operation Delta Sanity, activated to curb crude oil theft, has led to a rising crude oil production since the last 6 months to 1,428,613 barrels per day from less than 1,000. I'm also aware that the Nigerian Navy recently increased the salaries of non-Ministry of Defense staff in all Navy welfare schools by 100% to cushion the higher cost of living, as well as other incentives as palliative to support personnel.
The Secretary to the State Government, who is representing Governor Fubara, and the Deputy Governor of Akwa Ibom State are happy with the Navy's contributions to the nation.
The Rivers State government fully and wholly supports the Nigerian Navy because oil theft is not only against the federal government, it is against us as Rivers State. Apart from affecting our revenue, it's also seriously impacting on food security and health of Rivers indigenes.
The importance of the great turnout of 1,000+ naval staff today will go a long way to support, to check our coastal lines of kidnapping, of bunkering, crude theft, and all that.
The trainees are also quite happy and motivated.
Before I reported here, I did not even think this was how it was going to be. But alhamdulillah, thanks to Almighty Allah, I'm here now and I've scaled it. The 6 months, we went through rigorous training.
Well, I am 100% prepared because going through this kind of training in NMBTS is a very great privilege.
Some highlights of the event include inspection of the parade, ceremonial march past, and presentation of awards to the best trainees. Charles Oporom, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, a special report focuses on an exceptional female house painter in Anambra State. Please stay with us.
A2 size brochures, 1 banner, 1 roll-up, 50 jotters, pens, and 50 quality souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913-156-5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. Prints, digital printing at super speed.
The Duchess International Hospital caters to every aspect of the family's health needs. A one-stop shop for maternity and child health services, emergency medicine and critical care, medical and surgical subspecialties, dental and eye care, and a range of other subspecialties and services, all available at a single location right here in the heart of Ikeja. And it really doesn't matter if you're paying out of pocket using your HMO or private insurance. We focus completely on providing that world-class affordable healthcare for all the family at all times.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Bola Tinubu attends World Economic Forum in Riyadh, says removal of fuel subsidy in Nigeria is to prevent the country from going bankrupt. Minister of State for Defense Bello Matawalle reveals daily oil production now stands at 1.4 million barrels per day, attributes it to fight against oil theft. People's Democratic Party sweeps Oyo local government election, wins all 33 chairmanship seats. And human rights groups give damning report against Burkinabe army. Alleged soldiers killed 223 villagers in 2 communities, an allegation strongly denied by the military. Let's talk politics now in Oyo State, where the Independent Electoral Commission has announced the results of Saturday's local government election across all the state, with the ruling party, the People's Democratic Party, winning all the 33 local government areas. The results of the Oyo State Local Government 2024 election were announced at the conference hall of the Oyo State Independent Electoral Commission in Agodi, Ibadan. After the presentation of results from all the 33 local government areas where elections took place, the Commission's chairman, Mr. Isiaka Olagunju, affirmed the results and declared the PDP victorious. Governor Seyi Makinde had earlier described the election as credible and peaceful after exercising his franchise at his own ward on Saturday. There are, however, complaints from some local government areas about discrepancies noticed during the electoral process. Gunmen have killed ex-Alaba Excel Abe, who's one of the campaign coordinators of the Ondo State Governor Lucky Ayedatiwa. Mr. Abe was one of the coordinators of the campaign organization Foot Soldiers Independent Council in Akoko West local government area of Ondo State. The group, in a Sunday statement by its State Information Director, Kayode Fasua, said Excel was killed in his home on Saturday. They decried the murder as one of its members and appealed to police authorities to protect members of its group against opponents. For Amarachi Abraham, a 27-year-old lady from Amici in Nnewi South local government area of Anambra State, obtaining a university degree may count as a dream come true, but learning a craft and practicing as a house painter is a career of choice which she has always desired. Not minding that house painting is a male-dominated career in Oka, where she currently lives, Her passion has clearly distinguished her in her daily work, and now she is preferred over her male counterparts by clients because of her exceptional personality and ability to work. In our next report, we'll bring you the story of how Amarachi carved a niche for herself in the chosen painting career. Safe and affordable shelter is a major aspect of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and it is expected that by the year 2030, most citizens will have access to safe and affordable housing. Housing then must come with aesthetics which include proper painting and other essential beautification. In Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million people, shelter is also a key necessity of life. Here in Anambra State, southeast Nigeria, buildings come with several fittings and decorations to make it not only habitable, but also comfortable to live in. Majority of buildings in the state are painted alongside other decorative trappings. Painting job is clearly a male-dominated one, and it's always rare to see women delve into it. Mrs. Amarachi Abraham defied all odds and launched into a career she had always loved from the university.
I'm a lover of colors, so when I was in the university, 200 level at Nnamdi University, I attended a conference where the speaker encouraged every person that attended to develop that idea they have inside of them, that without being scared of what the society will say. So I had to employ for apprenticeship. I trained under my boss then on my master. I trained for like 6 months, and then the first place I painted was my room for examination. So when I finished painting my room, he confirmed that I was good. So I started painting for free.
She paints alongside male workers, and she gives directives on how things should be done in her work site. But there are challenges.
So the challenges are majorly people believing in me that I can do this, and then also our society, the risks involved in this career, climbing scaffold, the sun, underpaid by some clients who believe that as a lady you can just get any pay and all that. So these are major challenges I face.
Her painting career started when she was single, and now a mother of one, she shares her experience.
Before getting married, people were telling me, Maria, don't marry you. I heard that ladies who are talented, when they get married, they calm down because of stress with motherhood and all that. At first, I was scared, but my husband assured me that he's with me all through the journey. And then I also have family and friends who are also very supportive. It wasn't easy. Of course, when I was pregnant, this laziness that comes with pregnancy, but I was going to sites. Though I wasn't really doing this stressful job, but I was always at the sites, traveling, going for inspection. I didn't want that mindset to get to me. So I had to train myself to get used to the fact that this career has come to stay. So anybody working with me, they understand that I'm also their friend. In the sense, I make the environment lively for them. We play music, but I make sure that you do what you're supposed to do, and then you deliver on your parts.
As a young woman, Amarachi has carved a niche for herself in a male-dominated profession, and here is her advice to young people.
I want to encourage every young lady out there, if you have any career, if you have any idea, because God has created us, especially women, with so much talent. We are so gifted that we don't have to listen to what the society will say. Just have to make a step. Even that step, you might stagger and fall, but pick yourself up and keep making that step. The world will hear your voice, the world will see you, and when they see you, they make a space for you to enter.
Amarachi is someone you can trust to actually give you the value for cost. You understand? And then when it comes to the project proper, she delivers. So yes, you give her a job, she gives you the accurate costing, and she delivers from the onset to the completion of the project.
I wanna be a billionaire. Amarachi has done this for 6 years, and she hopes to explore more and more in the industry. Earlier this week, Nigeria hosted the African Counterterrorism Summit, where the theme of that summit was strengthening regional cooperation and institution building to address the evolving threat of terrorism. The question tonight is, how significant is the threat of terrorism in Africa? Well, Bajide Ogunsawo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, is here to share more insights about the scale of terrorism in Africa. Hello, Babajide. It's good to have you on the news at 10. Good evening. This Africa Counterterrorism Summit that we've been talking about, I mean, it seems to be a special one. If you remember the people who were present, the Office of the National Security Advisor was involved in this. The African Union was represented as well. Even the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism, those offices were all represented. Why is this different and seeming special this time?
There are several ways we could look at this, Anne. But I would like us to look at it from three perspectives. The first is to talk about the good and the bad news of this summit. The second will then be to look at what exactly was the National Security Advisor thinking when he advised the president to lead this summit. And third, we'll then look at the data. The first, the good and bad news. I'd like to talk about the good news before we move into the bad news. The good news is the president, by hosting this summit, is trying to fulfill part of his security promises that Nigeria will be more peaceful. And the president is saying that for him to achieve that, there has to be regional peace. In simple terms, the president has taken the position that if there is no regional peace, Nigeria is not likely to have peace, and therefore his promises for during the campaign are not likely to be fulfilled. That's the good news. So, good move by the president. Well, Anne, here's the bad news. And listen carefully to this. In 1999, the Organization of African Unity had a similar summit. They had a convention. Again, this convention was to fight terrorism. But after 1999, they then realized that beyond the convention, they needed a plan of action. And so in 2002, they then set up a plan of action again to improve security in Africa. And then in 2004, they realized beyond the plan of action, they needed a protocol. And so 2004, a protocol to improve security again. A decade after 2004, the African Union realized that perhaps to achieve their goals, they needed to have another protocol to be able to set up a Peace and Security Council for the African Union. In 2022, the African Union again went to Malabo to talk about unconstitutional change in government and a new framework to fight terrorism. Now we're here looking at where we were since 1999, an African Counterterrorism Summit. The point is, in all of this, we've done 24 years of a lot of talking. What President Tinubu is saying is enough of all this talk, and is promising that there now will be action. So we've taken a look at the good and bad news. That's the first bucket. Now to the second bucket. Why is this summit so important that the National Security Advisor told the president to lead this summit? Three reasons why, and I want everyone to listen carefully to this. The Global Terrorism Index is the most reliable database globally on terrorism, managed by the Institute of Economics and Peace. They've been tracking terrorism cases all over the world in the last dozen years, since 2011. And for the very first time, Anne, last year, an African country was rated as the most terrorized country in the world. That country, Burkina Faso. Prior to now, no African country has topped that list of most terrorized nations in the world. Last year, Burkina Faso topped the list, the most terrorized country in the world. Now, you might want to find out how significant is Burkina Faso to Nigeria. Nigeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, just two countries away. And so, if you look at the list of the top 10 most terrorized countries in Africa, you clearly see that Burkina Faso is on that list. The second is, across the top 5 most terrorized countries in Africa, 4 out of these 5 countries are in West Africa. And so clearly, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, is concerned about this trend. So clearly we've seen that the top 10 countries that are most terrorized in Africa, Burkina Faso #1, and also #1 in the world now, Mali in West Africa, Somalia at the Horn of Africa, Nigeria, the Republic of Niger, Cameroon just beside Nigeria, the DRC, Mozambique, Kenya, and Egypt. So in front of you right now is the list of 10 most terrorized countries in Africa.
So moving forward, since that's what we're doing, what must President Bola Tinubu do at the moment to improve Africa's fight against terrorism?
In this summit, he's talked about good governance. If you take a look at what is emphasized, he's talked about the importance of why illicit mining has to stop. And if you take a look at some of his sound bites, we clearly see that the president is saying terrorism and good governance cannot live under the same roof, and he has no doubt on who has to leave the house. And so, yes, the president understands the role of small and light weapons, and the president, in summary, is saying it will take more action than what has happened in the last 24 years to fight terrorism.
All right. Thank you very much. Babajide Okunsowo, founder of Leadership by Data and Channels Television's data analyst, for your insight.
You know, in the final analysis, they say terrorists are not born. Terrorists.
Very much for that closing remark. The stories. Let's head. Tanker explosion led to the death of 5 people, and President Bola Tinubu is extending his heartfelt condolences to the families of the victims of the fire incident. He's also commiserating with the government and people of Rivers State on the tragedy. The president has directed federal agencies in the state to continue liaising with the state government to provide the much-needed immediate support to all victims of this sad incident. The chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, Abdulrahman Aburazak, has called for a review of regulatory framework concerning the transportation of inflammable substances like petrol and gas. Mr. Aburazak, who is also the governor of Kwara State, stated this when he visited Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State to commiserate with the government and the people of the state on the disaster caused by the explosion on Friday. He is also recalling with sadness a similar explosion in Ogun State, saying that there is need to review how petrol products are transported.
It's a very sad day in our dear state. Something happened in Eleme Petrochemical along that route. A tanker had an issue with a tipper, and there was a very, very unfortunate situation that cost the state very devastating loss. Over 120 vehicles were burned down, and about 5 human loss was recorded.
Let's head to Kogi State now, where the governor, Mr. Usman Ododo, is raising the bar in the fight against criminals in the state. After unveiling new operational vehicles and motorcycles in Lokoja for Kogi State Vigilante Group, the governor warned that with criminal intent to find elsewhere for the activities, as Kogi will no longer be safe for them.
These operational security vehicles, which is the first installment of several hundreds to be provided over the next few weeks, will advance the safety and security of life and property in all parts of Kogi State, as it stands as one of our most significant operational response yet to recent upsurge in criminal activities in some parts of the state. As we embark on consistent review of the security situation in the state, let me state unequivocally that our resolve to maintain law and order in all parts of the state is total, and the fight against criminals in our state must be won. We cannot and we will not allow criminal elements to undermine the progress and prosperity we have worked so hard to achieve in our dear state. As a government, we are in total support of Mr. President in his determination to take the fight to the terrorists in all parts of the country, as we have seen in recent onslaughts to degrade cells of bandits and terrorists across the nation.
Let's head to Edo State now in Benin City, the city that appears to be experiencing a surge in the number of beggars in the state. Our correspondent Jessica Oluboshere is in Benin City, the Edo State capital, reports that attention needs to be given to the situation to prevent the spread of begging activities to other areas in the capital city.
The bustle of Benin City, the Edo State capital, is easy to catch in the daytime, especially on the King Square axis and other major streets. Another sight easily noticeable is the presence of elderly and young street beggars huddled on the walkways, awaiting donations from passers-by in areas including the Mission Road, Apapava Road, Dawson Road, and the Ramat Park. It's not all a passive exercise, as some of the children leave the safety of the sidewalks to beg, including menial tasks in the process. This visually impaired man, supported by his wife, explains he resorted to begging following an accident in 2017 where he lost his sight. He says moving from place to place, he makes just about enough to take care of himself and family.
Now here there's time to live in. Yes, if I change now, this now will go. If I come out to here now, this now will go dancing.
This chartered accountant believes alms giving is not likely to be of much help long term.
I don't believe giving people alms, because it is better you teach them on how to, how to get their own income or raise their income, rather than teaching them or rather than giving them money. It is dangerous when you begin to give them money and they are not doing anything.
A legal practitioner, Osai Gbinoba, says street begging is an offense in Nigeria as captured under various laws, including the Child Rights Act.
They soil the environment, they deface public this thing. If you go to Ramat Park in Benin, it's an eyesore. I just wonder how the government has closed its eyes and we have degenerated to people putting tents. And you see the way they deploy children. My belief is this: there's a powerful cabal behind it.
His suggestions include enforcing existing laws.
After educating and sensitizing the people, and they insist, apply the law. Arrest them, have mobile courts, sentence them. Don't take them to conventional correctional homes. Take them to IDPs. Engage them. Let there be good security. It will change.
The state government, according to the Commissioner for Social Development, has plans to bring change to the situation.
When we're able to profile these children and work with their respective state governments, they'll be able to bring these children closer to them and engage them meaningfully. Why the syndicates, of course, those that are into this, the government are not smiling towards these persons. Of course, they are going to face the law. Because you can't take human beings and be trading with their lives, endangering the future of these young children.
It's the belief of concerned Nigerians that if these plans are effected, a better life awaits the street beggars. Jessica Oluboshere, Channels Television News.
Though the Bauchi state government admits there is shortage of manpower in its schools, it is now promising to address the challenge within the shortest possible time. The governor of Bauchi state, Bala Mohammed, had told the Emir of Katagum of his plans to recruit more teachers for the state schools, following the Emir's plea during a visit by members of the Emirate Council. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu reports.
Since the start of his second term, one of Governor Bala Mohammed's key focus areas has been the revamping of the education sector. With a state of emergency already declared in the sector, efforts are being accelerated to develop different areas, including addressing the challenge of teacher shortage, especially in rural communities. During a visit to the governor, the Emir of Katagum raised the issue of teacher shortage, acknowledging the governor's numerous interventions in various sectors within the emirate.
You have done so much, and we are not Oliver Twist. We cannot continue to ask. But I know, you know, we still need more teachers in primary school. Because in some schools, you discover there's only one Arabic teacher. And there are so many indigenous that have graduated with a minimum of NCE that they can be employed and deployed to these primary schools.
Governor Bala Mohammed notes the challenge and assures the Emir that it is being addressed and calls on the traditional institution to support the government's efforts, especially in school enrollments.
It is not just the classroom we want to see built and renovated. We built 5,400, but it is still work in progress. By the time we came, all our secondary schools and primary schools were blown up because of our Royal Highness and the district. Please inculcate the need for parents to take their children to school. Enrollment is the problem we have.
The governor also promises that within this year and the next, the manpower gap will be filled with a plan to recruit 10,000 workers, including teachers. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
The Lagos State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Mr. Tokunbo Wahab, is asking intending and property owners to get approval for construction to avoid demolition in the future. He made this comment during an inspection of a drainage system on the mainland. According to him, ongoing discussions have been on since 2021 with property owners whose structure have been demolished for blocking the drainage path, and the government will not stop at anything to exercise and make sure all drainage channels across the state experience free flow and address flooding issues across the state.
Total disregard to environmental safety and building guidelines is obvious here at Ifako, Ugudu area of Lagos. The Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources is demolishing some structures built on canal path, affecting free flow of water. The commissioner in charge, Tokunbo Wahab, is out with his team for an enforcement exercise on System 1 drainage route in Koshofe, local government area of the state. Sholuyi in Bagada area is the first stop where some of the structures have been partially demolished. Affected residents have moved their belongings out. Government insists that the buildings must be brought down because they are not safe for habitation.
But they just stop them from doing the construction. I have no power to stop them. But I told them. November is 6 months ago. What you saying? It means you failed your people.
Next up is Arowo Jobe, Sheung Oni Close, Maryland. Structures here have been marked. Owners of the affected property go emotional, pleading for help.
Mercy. We understand you. You are asking for mercy because today you are going to benefit from it if it happens. How about the other people that are going to do something?
The inspection tour continues at Odoyalaro or Jota Canal. From there, the team moves to Mende Villa Estate, Maryland, where the developer and the commissioner argues over the approval of the estate affecting System 1 drainage, a matter that has been on for over 10 years.
If a secondary collector, can't even be 3 meters. To be 6.
No, just to
meet
the alignment.
Wait. This is a major primary channel. If a secondary collector, they won't even tell you to take 3. To be 6.
What I suspect, sir.
I don't understand what I'm saying.
I know what I suspect.
They won't even have said to you that you take 3. For a primary collector
this thing Lagos State is using now is different from what they used that time. I will tell you one of my experience too. When we had issue on this Pasubi revocation, they said Pasubi revocation stop at Igidi. After about 8 years, they moved that Pasubi revocation to almost around 200 meters. I suffered that with land also. They said they changed something. Something changed. Why is it changing and it's affecting us?
Roger, it has not changed. I'll tell you for a fact, this is the right of way that was established in 1974. This one. But I'm coming now, 1974. It has not changed. You know why they can't alter it? The whole of mainland will get flooded if they alter this system.
Will move by about 6 and 7 meters. The same thing now that they gave us.
I say 6 or 7 meters. What is it close to this?
It's closer to the canal.
It can't be close to this particular channel.
Okeafa Canal System is the final stop. Heap of refuse has completely blocked the canal. The commissioner says the refuse will be removed, emphasizing that there is no going back on demolition of houses blocking the drainage.
Government have to do what they have to do. So we've said to them, it's 140 from the embankment. But we want to see if we can put a human face to it, if possible. If we can do that, we'll let them know in the next few hours. As it is, we are pushing forward with enforcement for the right of way for Oduyalaro.
Residents of Lagos State have been advised to obtain all necessary approvals from all ministries involved in building, including the Ministry of Environment, to avoid demolition.
Let's head to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, where authorities there are still battling with devastating flood and windstorm that wreaked havoc on the Emirates. The committee set up by the UAE government to evaluate damage caused by recording breaking storm and purpose solutions has held its first meeting, according to the state media agency WAM. 4 technical committees have also been established to focus on roads and infrastructure, houses and properties, dams and water facilities, as well as energy and water. Our correspondent Mayowa Degoke brings us up to speed on the flood situation there.
As the UAE recovers from severe flooding caused by its heaviest rainfall on record, there has been an increase in reported cases of waterborne illnesses in parts of Dubai as well as Sharjah, 2 of the Emirates most impacted by the event of April 16. In a statement published by the state news agency, the government claims contaminated water leaking into underground water tanks as a cause of the outbreak, stating, quote, a limited number of cases are being attended to. Relevant ministries are said to be taking proactive steps to address the situation.
Constantly, the Dubai municipality officers will come to your office, to your staff accommodations to inspect that everything is being done as per standard. So this we receive on Tuesday and Wednesday, that we have to make sure that we recheck. Even though we've done it before the rain, we have to recheck the tanks, remove all the waters, check for a leakage, if there's any leakage in our underground tank, making sure that the rainwater does not mix with the sweet water. And if there's any leak, fix the leak, clean the tanks, and pump in the sweet water again.
Olowu, a health and safety engineer, commutes between Sharjah and Dubai daily and confirms a similar instruction in his residential building. Meanwhile, the hustle and bustle of Dubai is restored, even as government continues to support affected communities and residents. A directive by Dubai's Crown Prince Sheikh Hamdan instructs residential management companies and real estate developers to offer alternative housing, food, and several other amenities to those affected, as well as a $544 million fund to assist affected citizens. Resident support initiatives are still ongoing in various emirates, bringing assistance to disadvantaged local communities.
The government agencies are doing a great job in providing the relief to each and everyone, and clearing operations is still ongoing. For now, like for example, in this area that we're going to visit tomorrow in the Sharjah City Center area, 2 days ago, there has been still water on the roads. Still, there's flood. But then after 2 days now, when we checked on it, when we had an ocular inspection, it has been dried out. They have pumped everything out from the road. So in a couple of days, we expect that everything will come to normal.
As recovery efforts continue, government cautions residents against walking or swimming in accumulated rainwater that may contain contaminated material. From Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, Maya Wadigoke for Channels Television News.
Now to the arts. Shaping the Future of Ceramics is a show by renowned Austrian artist Selma Etereri at Quintessence Gallery right here in Lagos. It was an opportunity for this ceramist to interact and share ideas with her Nigerian colleagues, as well as give a live portrait demonstration. We see it on Art Review tonight.
Shaping the Future of Ceramics by potter Selma Etereri is what has attracted these enthusiasts to the Quintessence Gallery in Lagos.
One of the things we are going to learn from her is the fact that how she uses materials over there. When she came with some materials we don't have here, which is shared among members of the group. And she even had to teach some of them at the Hamatan workshop how to use those materials.
It's more than just an exhibition or interaction. Outside the gallery, she gives a live demonstration of this craftsmanship. Selma Etereri is no stranger to the Nigerian shores. She has had several engagements in the past due to her exceptional ability to merge traditional Austrian ceramic techniques with contemporary artistic forms to become an influential figure in the global art space.
In the world of sports, Rangers International beat Plateau United 2-0 at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu. That happened this evening to maintain a 2-point lead in the Nigeria Premier Football League match day 32, with 6 games left to play. The Flying Antelopes are on 57 points. They're closely trailed by the title holders Enyimba International, who defeated Katsina United by lone goal. Chijioke Mbaoma also scored the only goal via a penalty. The People's Elephants are on 55 points. Aqua United moved from the relegation zone following a 3-0 win against Kano Pillars at the Nest of Champions in Uyo. As for Gombe United, they beat Lobe Stars 3-2 at the Bantami Stadium in Gombe. Sporting Lagos beat Abia Warriors 4-2 at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikon, Lagos. Manchester City overcame relegation, threatened Nottingham Forest 2-0 earlier this evening to close to within 1 point of Premier League leaders Arsenal. Goals from Josko Vardiol and Erling Haaland saw off the spirited Forest, who remained just 1 point above the drop zone. But earlier, the Gunners held on for a pulsating 3-2 win over arch-rivals Tottenham in North London derby to keep their gap and the grip on the top spot in the Premier League. today's other game, NS Unal also scored on the first Premier League start for Bournemouth at the Cherish beat below par Brighton 3-0 to reach their highest top-flight points total. In Syria, the party has started as Inter Milan players and staff rode on open-top buses surrounded by clouds of blue smoke and a crowd of supporters. And that's after the club's first home game since clinching the Serie A title. Here is more on that parade and, of course, other sporting events that happened earlier today across Europe.
Inter Milan began their official Serie A title party earlier today as the newly crowned champions set off on a parade around their home city after a straightforward 2-0 win over 10-man Torino. The Nerazzurri beat City rivals AC Milan last week to seal the Scudetto, the club's 20th, with 5 league games remaining.
Somehow.
And in tennis, women's world number 4 Elena Rybakina eased to a 6-1, 6-4 win over Egypt's Maya Sharif to reach the Madrid Open last 16.
Brilliant. That's the way to save another match points.
Rybakina, who has the best record on the tour this season with 28 wins, will face teenager Sarah Bilek in the next round.
But the thing is, she has the power and the placement to just generate another. Elena Rybakina, a smooth operator in the Spanish capital. Yet another victory this season. And this time at the expense of Maya Sharif of Egypt. Rybakina once again making serene progress through a WTA 1000. She's into the last 16 now.
Still in Spain, Andrei Rublev came back from a 5-love down in a first-set tiebreak to beat home favorite Alejandro Davidovich Fokina 7-6, 6-4 in a nervy affair.
Point construction there.
The Russian wrapped up his win with a forehand winner, his second win of the week after 4 straight defeats.
Extraordinary match and an extraordinary win for Andrei Rublev. Davidovich Fokina will ponder the first set.
And finally, 2-time defending world champion Francesco Bagnaia wins his 3rd successive Spanish MotoGP, denying home favorite Marc Marquez his first win since 2021 in a thrilling race. Bagnaia recorded just the 2nd win of the season as he held on to his factory Ducati despite poleman Marquez's effort on his Ducati Satellite Gresini bike.
Some worst incidents in the country in nearly 1 decade. Burkinabe authorities have said that they had opened a legal inquiry and HRW's report. And the main news again. The president today told global leaders at the World Economic Forum today that his decision to announce oil subsidy in Nigeria was to save the country from bankruptcy. He also explained that the country's policy on job creation, technology, and the repositioning of the nation's currency. And that's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Have a fruitful week ahead. Good night.